What's up guys, welcome back to Destiny Updates. There's some info in the latest Bungie Weekly Update, so we're going to take a look at that, and then we'll also look at last week's update a bit more briefly. Starting off, the first thing of interest that he says is that they're assembling their final build of Destiny for 2013. After that, he said, engineers added a new component to stats will track as you kick alien ass in the Lost Frontier. And then he continues, our competitive multiplayer matches breached its boundaries and spilled out onto retail hardware. No dev kits required. Progress. So the fact that competitive can now be played on retail hardware is pretty awesome. I believe that means technically they could hand it out to user research participants at any time, although I don't think they'll be doing that until the true beta in the summer. He then continued that the Bungie.net team built a tool that will allow you to see your Guardian, your riches, and your weapons and gear even when away from the tower. So that's quite nice. After that, he said that the Banhammer has been conjured from its slumber, so something to watch out for in Destiny. I'm sure it will be vigilantly hunting for hackers, cheaters, exploiters, and the rest that deserve punishment. After that, we leave actual game info for a look at the hand cannon Thorn, in the form of an extremely awesome prop. We also get this in-engine render of the weapon, seen here, which is quite nice, and is the first time we've seen Thorn since its concept at GDC. I know Thorn is something a lot of people have been wanting more of for a long time, so at least we got something. But the real focus here is the prop made by Bungie environment artist and apparently highly skilled cosplayer, Sloan Hood. You can see him here dressed as a hunter, carrying the weapon, looking quite badass. To make this gun, he actually took an in-engine model for it and separated it into small sections. Those sections were then printed out by a 3D printer. Of course, he then had to connect everything, paint it, and customize the handle. The end result, shown here, looks absolutely amazing. I mean, it just looks awesome. I've seen some pretty damn cool props of video game weapons before, but this has to be my favorite so far. Also, it sounds like he may very well be making more in the future, so I cannot wait to see what's next. Ending the update is of course a brief mail sack. ODST Jacob asks if there'll be a December cast, or December podcast. Deej says December is almost gone, but we'll see what we can slap together for you. On the same day as this update, Game Informer put out a post saying, leave your questions for the Destiny podcast, and we may ask it to Bungie. I'm not sure if that means Game Informer will be submitting them to the normal Bungie podcast hosted by Deej, along with Urk and Halcyon, or if Game Informer is doing their own podcast. Either way, if you have something you'd like to ask, go ahead and leave it in the comments on this Game Informer post. I'll leave a link below. Anyways, back to the mail sack. The next question is from Nordic Hero, who asks if Easter eggs have to be pre-approved by someone. Deej says yes, they do need approval, just in case someone hides a pic of their naked ass in the game. That of course references an incident in Halo 2 Vista, where there was a picture of just that, hidden somewhere in the map editor. It caused some major headaches, including having the game's ESRB rating adjusted and having to relabel copies, if I remember right. After that, Chorizo Tapetio asked how the damage system works, but Deej gave a silly answer and said to ask again sometime. And then someone by the name of MaxZ77 asked about the Traveler, and Deej answered by pasting a large section from a recent Game Informer interview with Jason Jones. Unfortunately, I'll have to cover that in another video, as it's rather long. Next, Cobra says, tell me more about swords. For this one I shall quote the answer. Deej says, no way. The last time I let slip a detail about swords, Luke almost used one to skin me alive. Yes, that Luke. Don't thank me, you guys are worth it, and you needed something to cheer you up that week. Now if you don't remember or missed that video, in a previous weekly update, there was a brief mention of swords that got everyone talking. I'll leave a link to it in my outro at the end of this vid if you want to watch that one. Anyways, myself and many others believed it meant swords were usable in the game, and so I got quite excited, but then a bunch of people said it was likely just a slang for guns, so then I wasn't quite sure. I would say this basically confirms it was a real sword, and we will be able to use them in-game, which is super awesome. Thanks, Deej. The final question is from Spawn, who asks if there will be more Destiny trading card codes in the future. Deej answers, like you can't even imagine. Your future is far from grim. You will, however, need to meet us halfway. So it sounds like we'll definitely be getting more, and by meet us halfway, I'm guessing he means at events like we've been seeing. Speaking of trading card codes, 3 more codes have come out since my last video on the topic. This was actually quite a while back, but I didn't want to make a dedicated video for it, and then I totally forgot about it. But anyways, these 3 new ones are the Cabal, the Devastated Coast on Venus, and the Vex Minotaur. I'll put these codes in the description below. And in case you haven't been keeping up on the topic, I'll just put all 17 codes down there with a link to the redemption page. Everyone can go redeem these, and they unlock something next year. Anyways, to close out this update, Deej says, this year is not over yet. We have a few more tricks up our sleeve. Don't stray too far, no matter where your travels may take you. So it sounds like there'll be some stuff coming up. Now, as quickly as possible, I wanted to go through last week's update. I didn't cover it at the time because I was busy with other news, and there wasn't a whole lot in it, but I figured it's a good extra on this video. First, he mentions the release date, saying they're taking their time to do it right. Then he talks about some long-planned user interfaces coming to life, both in the game proper and within a frontline experience we've yet dared to put on full display. I'm personally guessing that might be the mobile app, but we'll see. Then he talked about a badass pair of boots they were doing some motion capture for, teasing that we may step into them someday ourselves. He then says they added another person to their team, and that new highways were laid to drive you toward public spaces. Going on, he says that a small but important portion of their beloved mascot was returned to its rightful place. That has to be Ling Ling, the preserved dog's head that's been part of the studio since its very early days. Interesting story. After that, he says fragments of fiction were scattered through the solar system for us to discover, which sounds quite cool. Next, he shows this awesome screenshot depicting some epic Warlock Traveler powers. Then he recaps the release date and also says, "We believe Destiny will be worth the wait, and we're anxious for the chance to prove it to you." And I'm sure he's right. Again, I think the later date will only make the game better and more polished. Although of course, the wait does suck. After all that, he talks about the Game Informer article, which, by the way guys, I promise I will still finish my full breakdown of that. Besides being busy, I've also been getting distracted by all the YouTube MCN changes and copyright problems, especially since I really like to stay knowledgeable on issues like that. But anyways, if you missed my video talking about the class focuses and highlighting a bunch of other topics, be sure to watch it in the meantime. Now that was basically everything in the update. He does answer 2 frequently asked questions related to the launch date though, as well as another mail sack. First, I already pre-ordered. What do I do? Deej starts by saying thanks for pre-ordering, and then says you don't need to do anything. When release dates change, it really doesn't affect your pre-order, just the date you receive it. Second, what about my beta reservation? Deej says that assuming you pre-ordered at a participating retailer and were given a beta code, that spot is still valid. Go ahead and redeem it at bungie.net/beta, and you'll be emailed when the beta is released, sometime this summer. Onto the mail sack, Self-Defeat asks how many focuses there will be for each class. Deej says they're still debating the best way to pluralize the word focus, and says that we'll have to wait for those specifics. Next, Charlemagne asks for more backstory of Destiny, specifically what happened before the game. Deej gives a rather long reply, which basically says we're not getting any details on backstory anytime soon, one of the reasons being they want us to experience those huge revelations firsthand in-game. After that, he answered a question about world domination, and another with an odd sound effect, which may or may not be in the game. That's everything for last week's Bungie Weekly Update, and thus that brings us to the end of this double breakdown. Remember to check out the description below for those trading card codes if you don't have them yet. Thanks so much for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to subscribe for all things Destiny, and I'll see you in the next update.